We are 6 o'clock, Mr. Ward, if you would like to, or if you're ready to begin.
Yeah, I even have a gavel. Call to order this regular meeting, February, of the Huron City Schools Board of Education. If you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
and
indivisible, liberty, justice.
One nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
thank you.
We need to call, hey, Paul, call to order to get the meeting started.
Roll
Call to roll call.
I'm sorry, apologize about that. Randy, call the roll, please.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Mrs. Green,
Here,
Mrs. Mast,
Here,
Mr. Slocum,
Here,
Mr. Ward.
Here. Apologize about that, miss. Approve of the agenda, I believe, is next. Am I right?
Mr. Ward, before you take a call to approve agenda, there are 2 items, amendments to the agenda since it had gone public on Friday. The first item will be item 5, executive session. That's due to a personnel-related discussion. That discussion has been rescheduled for our next meeting, which is Tuesday, March 16th. So we will ask to remove that item from the agenda. And also item 10M, I'm asking that we remove Mrs. Gwen Aber from item 10M.
So if I understand correctly, Mr. Superintendent, there will be no need for executive session today.
Correct, as is outlined in the agenda. I think it was item 5, no need, correct.
Are you able to see the agenda now in your screens?
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it, and I printed it as well. Anyone else see it?
I
see it.
move to accept the agenda with the changes made by Mr. Matori.
Thank you, Donna.
my second.
That was Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Mr. Treasurer, can we have a vote?
Okay. Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Slocum,
Yes,
Mrs. Mast,
yes,
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes. Item 4, approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve? Now, this is the minutes from the tax budget organizational and regular meeting from the early part of January, actually the 5th.
so moved. Donna?
I'll second.
Thank you, John.
Randy, I had a question regarding the minute. Randy, I had a question regarding the minutes.
Okay.
And I know they're just the draft minutes, but in the public participation part, there was, from Mindy Brunow, there was a sentence in there that was really jumbled and it made no sense. I think it was just a typo. Something about her son and needing to be in school every day, and the line didn't make sense at all.
Whose son? Oh, whose son? It should be whose son?
Yeah, but the whole sentence doesn't make sense. If you read the whole thing,
Whose son needs to be in school every day? Oh, it needs to be me. It needs to be me, not me.
right?
Okay.
Right.
My-
Yeah, so that
my-
just needs to be corrected.
Okay, we get that, so we'll make those corrections.
Okay.
Good catch.
Thank you, Jody.
Mm-hmm.
So can we vote to approve the minutes?
With those
Treasurer
with those
make-
corrections.
Yeah.
Do you want me to, do you want me to
Yes.
restate it, Randy?
Yes.
Okay. I move to approve the minutes from the January meetings with the adjustment to Mrs. Bruno's statement.
Still second.
Thank you, John. Mr. Treasurer?
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Slocum,
Yes.
Mrs. Mast,
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Thank you all. Now, item 5 has been removed. We will not go to executive session. That takes us to item 6, which is the audience and community participation. And during this time, we dedicate a block of time not to exceed 30 minutes total, 5 minutes from any contributor. However, in this case, it's a little bit atypical. If you are watching on YouTube, you can take this time to enter a comment on YouTube, and we'll wait a moment and see if we get any. If my colleagues on the board are agreeable to that format, we'll just kind of pause and see if we get some comments. If we don't, after 30 to 60 seconds or 90 seconds, we'll move on, and I suppose we can assume
Sounds good.
there'll be no comments. Okay, thank you.
Hi. Can everybody hear me? This is Amy Roldan.
Hi, Amy.
Amy?
Hi, Amy.
I just wanted to come to the meeting tonight to kind of give you an update on our efforts for the upcoming levy campaign, and to make sure that you guys are aware of the plan and what's going on. Myself and Bill Murray, the co-chair, and then we also have an honorary chair this year, which is Dave Clark. Bill and myself and Denny Murtori and Randy have met. We started a little bit into January. Am I giving feedback, or is it just me that can hear it?
Yes. No, you're giving feedback.
Wonder why. I don't know why. Is it gone?
No.
Shoot.
Amy, are you on Zoom also? Zoom and,
Yeah, I'm on Zoom on my iPad as usual. I don't know.
are you looking at YouTube also?
No, just
Oh, okay.
just on the Zoom meeting. Yeah.
Okay, just curious.
Okay. Yeah, I hear feedback from everybody, but it's just Zoom. So, there. What do you think, Randy? You're
Randy,
muted.
mute.
Unmute, Randy.
I would mute and let's go ahead, Amy.
Okay. Anyway, so we started meeting in the beginning of January to kind of go over the details of the levy, an idea for what we want to do this year. And right off the bat, myself and Bill introduced the idea of kind of rebranding the Citizens for Huron Schools Committee. We've kind of taken in the past years the logo for the schools and added Citizens for Huron Schools underneath it. We came up with our own block name now, Citizens for Huron Schools, which is supported by citizens and led by citizens. Also with that, we came up with, this is new money. This is my second new money attempt in the 8 years I've been doing them. As you know, 2015, we did not pass. So I feel a little bit more, pushed at this effort. I felt that way 2015, but I really feel like we needed to really try to come up with something that's eye-catching, gets our community involved, gets our yes voters out there. And we came up with the slogan, tagline, whatever you want to call it, keep our kids moving forward. Based on, we want to move forward, we want to keep them going. I felt that it was very important that we don't say moving forward or it's a start of anything, because, sometimes there's a misrepresentation or misunderstanding in our community that when they were virtual or, our kids haven't been in school and the teachers have had it easy and all this, and it's not true. We want to keep moving forward. We want to keep providing the same services we've been and more. So we came up with that. We worked with Lucky Stone to come up with an actual graphics for it. You can go to the Facebook page for Citizens for Huron Schools and see that there. Part of our campaign then that we've developed is 3 things that we will do on the weekly basis, starting this week with the kickoff being tomorrow. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But we're doing video scribe posts, which is, and you'll see them on our Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram. We're using all 3 social media platforms to get our message out there to everyone. I hear myself talking back. And so the video scribes we used last campaign, where it's kind of like a drawn, support our schools, books, teachers, and it's their quick 30 to 40 second videos. But we've asked 16 people have committed in our community to being a part of those videos, where they'll be the speakers saying, support our schools. I became a leader because of the education I received, blah, blah, blah. And in the end, you'll see their face and they'll say, which is our next one coming out, I'm Cody Thompson. I'm a graduate of Huron High School. Support the levy. Support our kids, keep our kids moving forward. Everybody will say the same thing at the end. We have community members, we have our city manager, we have retired school teachers, we have business owners that will all do their own 30 to 40 second video again, and they're going to talk about something different about our schools and about the levy. And then in the end, they'll say their name, who they are, and keep our kids moving forward. And then we'll have a little thing that comes up that supports our levy. So we'll have 16 of those, maybe more, but at least 1 or 2 per week will hit social media. The other thing that we're doing is keep our Huron kids moving forward. We'll have that tagline with pictures of our kids being successful in our schools so that our community sees our kids. And then we'll also have 1 post a week that'll be a levy fact, something about our finances, something about the money, something about the importance of it, what it goes to, what we might lose. So that'll be our weekly rotation all the way through May 4th. In addition to that, tomorrow on February 17th, we are going to do live from the iconic donut shop in the heart of Huron, Ohio, between the lanes, with a conversation amongst myself, Bill, Denny, and Randy. And this will be all campaign related, all levy related, finance related, our kickoff, educating and engaging our community to what the levy is and what we're doing. So that will be our kickoff tomorrow, live from the iconic donut shop. The other thing is we're putting some of our campaign dollars into creating videos, 2 3-minute videos, 2 of them. 1 will follow a couple local families from the time they're having breakfast around their table to packing their backpack, getting on the bus and waving to the bus driver, walking down the halls of the school, after school activities, whatever they participate in, a life in the day of a student in Huron. And the parents will talk about what they love about the school, why they want to support the school. The second one will be in the school, about our classes, our students, our educators. And the really cool thing, if you can just imagine this, is we plan to start with the lights out in a school building. And the suggestion was Mr. T kind of turning on the lights, going around the building, and then it'll go into different classrooms and buildings, the teachers kind of in their classrooms with students and educators talking about, different programs at different schools. So we're really excited about those. Those will start going out there mid-March. And then we haven't lost focus on our traditional campaign, which includes mailers to every mailbox in Huron, signs. We might add some new signs with a new logo, just so people kind of, aren't driving past signs they've seen for the last 8 years. They're caught. What is this about? Coffee connection, between the lines with Sandusky Register, and pizza box toppers, letters to the editors, phone trees. So that's more of a traditional campaign, but we're really excited about the social media approach we're taking, as well as the branding and the consistent message, as well as our, 15 to 20 guest promoters that are going to help us to send that message out there. And we did strategically pick those people to make sure that we're reaching every generation of voters, as well as all demographics, as well as, students, alumni, educators, taxpayers, property owners, business owners. So that's all I have to say, other than vote yes on May 4th.
Thank you, Amy, and appreciate the creativity and energy of both you and Bill as co-chairs.
Thank
Bill
you.
made it on, if he has anything to say or not.
What?
No, yeah, I know. I got on just a few minutes too
I know,
late.
I wanted to make sure he was on.
I was gonna cover the the event tomorrow, but I think you covered everything. So we're looking
Well,
forward to that.
I think if you can just give a little bit more detail about the kickoff event, just some of the important topics that you're going to hit on, that's important, I think.
Yep, sure. So I'll be moderating a discussion with Denny and Randy, just answering the big questions, what the details of the levy are, what it means for each taxpayer, what the money will be used for, and why we're going for the levy, and what the passage or failure of the levy might mean for the school district. So it's just designed to be informational, to answer all the questions, the anticipated questions that we would have from from the community.
I think the biggest thing that came out of our kind of run through practice run this week, and I really suggest this to all of our administrators as well as our board members to please, we want to get our message out that the money we're seeking is so that we have the school district and provide the education in the school district that our community members expect. We want people, whatever their expectations are, because it's different for every individual person, but whatever it is, we need to maintain the budget levels and add this levy in to meet all those expectations. And I think that's really important. And the other thing is that we did kick off last week with the full committee, with all of the administrators from the building participating. And they'll be meeting on the weekly basis as well until May 3rd. So, big shout out to all of them who contribute to supporting and the feet on the ground kind of effort. So.
Thank you.
If I could just say, I would just, really thank Bill and Amy for the many, many, many hours that you both contribute to this levy campaign. I think it should be noted that we started meeting end of January. Bill and Amy, Julie, Mr. Lee joined in, Randy, strategizing the countless hours that you two, Amy and Bill and Mr. Clark, are going to contribute are just, it's inspiring. So thank you guys for having a passion for our school district, a passion for our community, and really a belief in the work that we do. Because if you wouldn't give your time, the amount of time you do, if you didn't believe in the work and the product that we're producing here for our kids. So thank you both for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Bill.
And thanks for all you guys do, for sure.
Julie, is there anyone else who would like to comment, like our audience and community participation portion of the meeting? Dr. McDonald?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute. I'm not seeing anything on YouTube, but I keep refreshing and it's not showing anything, so.
Okay. Okay, let us at this time move to item 7 on the agenda, which is the superintendent's report. Mr. Superintendent.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ward. Couple items I wanted to update the board concerning. First, the full return, the 5 days a week return. Before I go into it, I really would like to commend the effort of our students and our staff. Because of their efforts, overall, the full 5-day return has been a success. And we're in our 5th week so far, so knock on wood, things continue as they've been. As was shared during our most recent COVID task force meeting, this is a group that meets parents or educators a couple times a month. Of course, there have been some one-off challenges with remote learning. It's new technology, technology-related hiccups, procedural hurdles. But again, the feedback that we're receiving has been overwhelmingly positive for the remote piece. The permanent rotating substitute personnel that we've placed in each building greatly aided in filling in those areas when a substitute coverage could not be secured. They've also been quite helpful when they're not covering a classroom or a duty. So thank those folks for committing their time each day. The air purifiers that we've placed in each cafeteria have been an added mitigation strategy. That's especially in those areas where face coverings have to be removed within a large setting for a specific amount of time. What I think is fantastic news would be cases internally, that's within our schoolhouse walls. Over the past 2 weeks, we've reported 0 probable or confirmed cases of COVID impacting our students and staff. I think that's phenomenal. According to data shared with us by the Erie County Health Department, COVID numbers impacting the 44839 zip code, that's Huron in Huron Township, dropped significantly as well. So obviously we would see that in our school system as well. So currently in our district, we have 36 students participating in the remote learning option, and we have 127 students participating in the Huron Virtual Academy. We've heard from some parents who wanted to wait out the third quarter to see how things were going. So we anticipate more of those students coming back to the face-to-face 5 days a week as we start the fourth quarter in April. A vaccine update, faculty and staff, those that have registered, they will receive their first dose on either Saturday, February 27th, or Sunday, February 28th. The second dose will be administered either 3 or 4 weeks later, but that's all dependent upon the brand of the vaccine that we will have at our disposal. And we should learn more about that this week. Because of the potential for side effects that some folks may experience 12 to 24 hours following the second dose, our district, we've been collaborating with our Erie County district partners, and we're all considering taking the Monday following the second dose as a non-school medical or a calamity day, if you will. With all the districts having the second dose administered at the same time, it will not take many folks to go down ill to really be catastrophic for the local school districts as far as substitute coverage. So that's a strategy that we are all, I believe we're going to all endorse that model moving forward with that Monday, taking it as a day off. I would also like to really thank the Erie County Health Department. Like they've been throughout the entire COVID experience, they've been incredible partners throughout the vaccine process, planning process. Again, there is no model to follow. Everyone's dependent upon someone else. We're dependent upon the health department. They're dependent upon the state, which is dependent upon the federal government, et cetera. So there are a lot of links in the chain. So they've been wonderful. So shout out to the health department. And again, finally, regarding the full 5-day return, without the effort and attention to detail given by our students, our staff, and our parents, our successful return to the degree that our district has experienced, that wouldn't be possible. So again, I just want to thank everyone for the way they've handled these trying times. And certainly, as far as the full 5-day return, I will be more than happy to answer any questions before I go on to the next item.
Denny, I just had a quick question.
Sure.
When we had our last COVID community task force meeting,
Yes.
there was the talk of you having interaction with the student cabinet and just kind of doing a checkup on some of the kids there to see stress levels.
Yep.
And how the students are feeling and how they're doing. And you may touch on that later in something you have to say, but I was just wondering what you found.
Well, I'm meeting with them this Friday. So
okay.
I don't
you
have
haven't met
anything
with
to
them yet.
share at this time, but I will say that I'm really looking forward to hearing from the kid perspective, the teenager perspective. We've heard from parents over and over again Everybody assumes what the kids are feeling. I really am looking forward to that opportunity to hear what their experience has been, not only with just the school experience, but just managing a global pandemic in general. How
Yeah.
has it impacted their lives? How do they foresee their lives being different moving on, being the COVID generation? So I look forward to giving you guys, the board, an update after we meet on Friday. So looking forward to that.
Great. And then just to speak to what you talked about as far as the Monday after the second dose of the vaccine being taken off, I had real world experience with that Thursday. I got my second dose, and I thought I was doing really well and I wasn't going to have any side effects at all. And like clockwork, 12 hours later, I felt like I got hit by a freight train. It was something else like I've never experienced before in my life, but it was probably a good 36 hours until I felt like myself again.
Wow.
So, and I had, just for reference, I had the Moderna vaccine. So, it's real.
Well, I appreciate, and you and I, Jody, have been talking about that a little bit offline. And yeah, it's everybody's different, but it's a common thread that it's luck of the draw. But I appreciate the proactive approach that the districts are planning. And quite frankly, we hope no one has the side effects.
Oh, I hope they don't either.
Like you experienced, but an ounce of precaution will certainly go a long way. So and Will, you mentioned the brand. The brand will determine if it is a 3 weeks out from the first or a 4 weeks out. So again, I hope to learn more about that this week so we can share with our faculty and staff and our parents for that matter, for planning purposes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, if no other questions regarding the full 5-day return, another item I would like to update the board on, and this is going to take us back to our December 11th work session. Mr. Druyer, Dr. McDonald, Mrs. Zilski, and Mr. Jones and I, we met via video conference on, I believe it was January 29th, with a representative from the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, or the OFCC. That's a state-supported initiative. And again, after we left our December 11th work session, that was something that the board had asked the senior leadership team to examine. So we did have that meeting on the 29th, and during the meeting, we reviewed the different plans or initiatives offered by the OFCC. And after going through and listening to their presentation, the initiative that our district best aligns with, considering our current situation, is something called the Expedited Local Partnership Program, or the ELP initiative. The ELP plan permits school districts, similar to Huron, that are estimated to be over 2 years away from eligibility for the state assistance under the Classroom Facilities Assistance Program. And we meet that criteria. We are probably 550, 560 out of 610 school districts. That's where we fall on the continuum. And obviously districts that are much higher up will participate in the program, the CFAP program, sooner than us. So we're at least 2 weeks or 2 years out. So this is why the ELP initiative best meets what our current circumstances are. So under the ELP initiative, the commission will assess the classroom facility needs of a participating school district, and they'll do that in collaboration with the district. And the end game here is to develop a district-wide master facilities plan. And what this entails is, first, it's a site audit, and that includes a review of the current facilities layout that we have. Also an infrastructure needs assessment, a square footage review in relation to enrollment. And that's also would include looking at not only the previous 10 years of enrollment, but also creating projections of future enrollment based off of the trends over that 10-year snapshot. One thing you need to know is this process, if we follow through with the ELP initiative, it does not commit the district to do anything outside of the development of a facilities master plan. And this is all conducted with no charge to the district unless we would bring in outside architects, et cetera. And we're certainly not at that point. What we would need to do to move forward to enroll in the ELP plan is the Board of Education would have to pass a resolution. It also would require the signature of the superintendent. But due to the COVID situation that we're dealing with, the Construction Commission, they're not sending members out to do site visits at this time. The estimated time to begin conducting those site examinations is they're looking at the earliest of July. So what we're doing now is we're prior to the board resolution, which I'll talk to you more about that in a bit, but we're in the process of just compiling our blueprints, all the different schematics that we have for our buildings, including other facility information, along with our enrollment numbers. And what we're going to do over the next month is we're going to send that information to our OFCC rep. Our plan moving forward, along with sending that documentation, is to present the board in March with a recommendation to adopt a resolution, which again would ultimately green light the facilities review process, with that end result being a comprehensive district facilities master plan. But I would like to stress a point of clarification. Our current tax levy that will be on the May 4th ballot has absolutely nothing to do with OFCC, the conversations that we're having, any planning that we're doing. We're not looking at doing a building project. We're just looking to get a better handle on what we have and what we don't have as a facility, as a facilities plan, and how we need to invest our money as far as upkeeping our facilities. So the intent of partnering with the Construction Commission at this point is to complete a facilities audit and develop a district facilities master plan. And all of this just supports the work that's outlined in our district strategic plan, Huron Schools Vision 2020. So certainly, Mr. Druyer, Mr. Jones, if you would like to, if I left anything out, if you'd like to share anything regarding that experience, please feel free.
I would just say it was an informative conversation, and I appreciate you your review of it. And I know I'm certainly in support of the effort moving now.
Mr. Druyer, anything that you would want to, did I leave anything out?
No, you hit the high points. I think a couple takeaways, I'll reiterate, right now, there's no cost to us to do this. You know, we may want to look at hiring an architect farther down the road that would actually lead us through some more process details, and recognize we're way down the list. And even if the state does want to fund part of it, we may or may not choose to participate because our state share is going to be so small. And many times, because of state requirements, you know, you may not want to follow their requirements. You can do it more efficiently with just local money. But the nice thing is we get this plan as a starting point to have that conversation.
We approved the grant for Rehovy, Denny, at our meeting last week to do the same thing.
Oh, did you?
So, yeah, and they're not looking to do anything. You know, obviously they've just completed a big building project, but you might as well take advantage of it, you know, to have experts look over your facilities and everything from your HVAC to your, you know, student enrollment. I mean, they do a nice evaluation. But I think he said, and maybe, I don't know if this was for Huron because Rehovy's different as a career center, but it was something like they'd pay 35 cents for every 65 cents that Ehovie threw in. Is that what it is for Huron? Or would we
Maybe
have
more.
even a smaller,
We'd be like 6 or 7 cents.
oh, get out of here, that's all?
We're a wealthy school district.
Wait till they come up here and take a look.
Well, I think, and that's part of the point
Oh.
is we got to get the levy passed, and then the facilities are big. McCormick is a really big deal. We've got
Mhm.
so much work that needs to be done there. It's scary because that building itself could bankrupt the district.
Yeah, I think at this point, we just need to know what we have and what we don't have. Having experts, pull the covers back to see what we have. And again, across all of our facilities, needs everywhere. And how will the board most wisely invest their money? I think it's our responsibility to at least give you a blueprint of, again, what we have and what we don't have, to make a strategic decisions.
Yeah, it sounds like a fantastic idea, especially if there's no cost to the district, to be able to have somebody who knows what they're looking for, inform us as to what we need to improve, what is okay, what's not. I think that is a wonderful tool to take advantage of.
Yeah, I've been through this process a couple times, and this is a great first phase. And then the second phase is then you really get into community engagement. You get serious. You take the facts and the data, then you go and share it with the community, and then you get their feedback, and you kind of have to meld it together. That's where the real hard work starts.
Sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Ward, under my report.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Appreciate the forward thinking, and Mr. Jones, you as well, Mr. Druyer, and the others who participated in that. And I guess my own 2 cents is yes, it's about efficiency. It's about being good stewards of our community's investment. It's about letting experts advise us on when it stops making sense to renovate and when perhaps it makes sense to construct. So the investigation's important. Good job. Thank you. Mr. Treasurer.
All right, I want to share my screen. Hit a couple high points. You've already seen the, financial reports. I want to hit a couple things. Donations for the month were just shy under $2,000, mostly for some scholarship funds and some donations to the building funds. But let me hit some of the financial stuff real quick. We ended the month at just shy of a fund balance of $3 million. Recognize this is our low point of the year, and it sounds like a lot of money, and probably for each of us individually it would be, but that even at that level, I was getting concerned about making our first payroll here in February, and I'll show you why in a second. Here's our investments. What we do is see the Star Ohio. That's where I pull our working money out. So like for payroll, I will pull money out of there for payroll. And then when we get our foundation payments or our tax payments, they go back into this account. And so this is as low as it's been since I've been here. And this is kind of our liquidity. The Morgan Stanley, UBS, and Fifth Third, they're all a little bit longer term interest. I'm shortening them up as I can, but I don't want to have to touch them because there'd be a penalty right now to do so. But as soon as they mature, they'll be put into Star Ohio. So I have that liquidity down the road. Couple things here. This is our general fund spending for the month. If you look at our revenues, we're about right. We're right where we expect to. We're at 43% of our real estate taxes, but the first half, the spring taxes are our biggest check. And right now we've gotten one advance, which is not included in here, but tax receipts so far have been slow in the auditor's office. Several $100,000, well behind where we were last year on the receipts. They don't expect that to be a problem. It's just slow coming in. And if you notice on interest, we're less than $10,000, And last year we had over $120,000 in interest. So that's obviously a big nut that we have to make up. On the spending side, we should be right around 60%, and that's where we are. And if you come down here, this little number, true cash days 8, at our low point, literally, you know, with you take what encumbrance we have, we only had less than $500,000 unencumbered cash balance. So, you know, that gets scary, and we get that low. I have to have Cindy, for example, hold checks and not send out, you know, some payments right away. We're not late with any of them. We are really good about paying things on time. But sometimes say, oh, we got a big check. It can wait a week before that goes out. So that's kind of management we have to do at these cash balances. Any questions on that? I'm kind of, but there is some good news here coming up here in a minute. Scroll down. One last thing on this. This is our grant, if you will, and associated funding. We have almost $1.5 million in total allocations. We've received about 840,000, a little over 840,000. And the biggest chunk of that is our student wellness dollars. So we've gotten our student wellness second half check. So you know, we're using that to fund our guidance counselors and social workers, et cetera. We don't have, you know, the allocation for the ESSER II dollars are still down the road a little bit. We've spent all our COVID dollars, that's the state CARES dollars, they're all spent. And we're in the process of spending all of our broadband connectivity dollars. But we're spending all our grant money. We're not leaving anything on the table. I think that's the message there. One last thing I want to show you, kind of more of the good news front. This was in my cash flow analysis. Right now, we're almost $70,000 favorable to forecast on the revenue side, and obviously the state budget and us getting some of that money back really is a big helpful. But the thing I'm most proud of is right now our expenses were $300,000 favorable. That our efforts to control spending is paying off, and this is the not filling some positions and being smart about looking at where we're spending our dollars. The combination right now puts, and I'll be updating working on a 5-year forecast in earnest after this month. But right now we're looking at an operating deficit a little over $500,000, which is a significant improvement of where we were in the fall. Still not good, but that number is going the correct way. And so keeping control on spending is the key message there. Any questions on that? All right. Stop sharing. Couple of other points quickly. Any questions? I've sent you the board revision information going on. We have 2 properties that we are filing complaints on. That's the Ardaw building, and Ardaw has in the past week has asked about how to handle that valuation. And so I expect negotiations to start with that. The second piece was the Harbor North purchase. We haven't heard anything from them yet, but I'm sure there'll be a negotiation. Talking to Matt Lasko at the city, he says the new ownership group at Harbor North are really on top of things and good people. I think those are issues that we can get resolved without actually having to go to the board of revision. That will negotiate the stuff all ahead of time and do it as partners rather than adversarial. State funding, FY22 state funding, you probably have heard this. The governor submitted his budget. Schools are going to be funded at the FY19 level, which is what I have built in our forecast already. So that part is no surprise. On the positive side, though, is more money for student wellness. And the issue is for us to try to figure out how to obviously use that to benefit our students and still hopefully provide some relief from our general fund. But I know there's some concerns at the state level about the amount of supplanting with that wellness dollars and not new programs. So there's going to be some push and pull on trying to use that to get new programs, but also help our budget. We had a finance committee meeting since the last meeting. Mr. Jones was able to participate. I think it was a good meeting, lots of dialogue on what the consequences should be if the levy doesn't pass and what that messaging would be. And we've had taken those same discussions to the levy committee. So the levy committee has heard some of that feedback. Mr. Jones, you want to make any comment about the finance committee meeting?
Just that I do agree with you. It was as far as I'm concerned, as long as I've been on it, the best meeting we've ever had. A lot of open discussion, a lot of good feedback, a lot of honesty about, not to share threats, but to put it out front of what eventually will happen if we are not successful with the levy and how important it is. Kind of as Amy said, to continue to provide the excellence that we provided all these years and that people expect. We have to be positive about it. So yeah, Randy, it was a good meeting.
So, we'll be coming back to the board. We're gonna have to have we've had some discussions that we're gonna have to lay out what are the consequences, not as threats, but we gotta be clear. Denny and I are gonna talk in theoretical terms, but one thing we are not in position to do is promise anything. This is gonna happen if it doesn't pass, or that's gonna happen, because that's not our decision, but that will be something that we will hopefully won't have to do, but if we do, we'll have to have some consequences probably for next fall. Last two more items that I'll sign off here. We have on the agenda tonight a resolution to allow us to use the Ohio School Council for a bus purchase. Again, this is not committing us to buying a bus. We're out of cycle right now on our bus purchases, but we do have like $16,000 in state funding towards a bus if we decide to pull the trigger. So we want to make sure that we can participate in that bid process, and still got to discuss among ourselves. That's how we want to spend our permanent improvement dollars. And the last thing I have, Mrs. Maston, Mr. Ward, we had that meeting with the auditor set up, and it's been rescheduled to this Thursday at 1 o'clock. I have not sent anything out yet because I've been waiting for Rick to give us confirmation on that. He's been ill, and I hopefully have confirmation on that tomorrow. But if you're available 1 o'clock on Thursday in the third floor conference room in Sandusky.
Okay, thank you, Randy.
I'm gonna try to confirm that for sure. And like I said, I apologize for not sending it out yet, but I haven't had confirmation. So any questions on any of my report? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. And now item 9, Treasurer's recommendations.
Just give me a second. I'm going to pull up the agenda.
All right.
Okay. Everyone see the agenda now?
No.
Oh, help if I hit share. How about now?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Getting better at this. I hope I don't get good at it, because that means we're doing it for way too long. For my recommendations, item A is the financial reports as a close of business on January 31st. I hit some of those key numbers. Bottom line is we're tracking where we expected, and actually probably a little bit better in terms of on the expenditure side. Item B, the donations for the month. Come on, there we go. $1,967, and you can see the sources and where they're going to, mostly to some scholarships, but also a couple to some building funds. And item C, my voice is changing. We have a contract with our NOAC. It's just an amendment on our bandwidth. It's a incremental, but besides that contract needs your approval. And per our organizational meeting, I've got one on here just for your information. It's not for your approval. We have a contract for our E-rate project that we'll do this summer to upgrade the access points at McCormick, improve the internet access there, which has been I think our biggest problem so far in terms of our connectivity issues. So those are my 3 recommendations for the month.
We have a motion to approve item 9, treasurer recommendations.
I move to accept the recommendations.
I'll second.
Thank you. Question on the adoption of item 9, Mr. Treasurer?
Okay? No question. Mrs. Mast,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes, sorry.
Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Slocum,
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Item 10, superintendent's recommendations.
Okay, thank you. Item 10A, I would ask the board to approve an additional 55 hours for this school year for intervention specialist Amy Lauer, who is serving as an intervention specialist at Shawnee. This is to fulfill the service requirements in students' IEPs, individual education plans. So I would ask for you to approve the additional 55 hour, up to 55 hours for this school year. Item 10B, I would ask the board to approve Miss Kathy Nickel for the Tigers Kids Club. Since we've gone back to 5 days, our Tigers Kids Club is a licensed program through the state of Ohio, and they have capacity limitations, if you will. So being back 5 days with the numbers, we had to open another classroom. So we need Kathy Nickel. We need her services. Item 10C, I would ask the board to approve the MOU for Mr. Steve Zeck. Steve is retiring effective January 30th of 2022. Contractual language, he can take advantage of the last lap. But since he is a mid-year retirement, he notified us 1 year in advance. We would like Mr. Zeck to take advantage of that contractual language. Item 10D, I would ask the board to approve the hiring of Mr. Wilbur Newell as a nighttime custodian at Woodlands Intermediate. This is not a new position. There was a vacancy created through the bidding process to a custodian who retired in another building. And as it shuffled out, this is where the vacancy ended up needing to be filled from an outside source, if you will. Item 10E, I would ask the board to approve the recommendation hiring Ms. Tammy Schleenbaker as a bus driver. Again, this is not a new position. If you recall, we had 2 vacancies mid-year, and this is just to fill one of those vacancies. Tammy was a longtime serving substitute bus driver for us, so she's familiar with our students, our process and procedures. Item 10F, similar, asking the board to approve the hire of Christina Miles as a bus driver. Again, due to the 2 vacancies due to people resigning. Again, Chris has been a long-term sub for us as well, so we're glad that she's able to now become a full-time driver for us. Item 10G, I would ask the board to approve additional hours for Carrie Case as requested by Director of Operations Denise Zilski. Carrie is actually serving in the Woodlands cafeteria where she has been for several years. We needed the additional hours. Now that we're back full time, it's still creating or providing meal packs for families. We needed to expand her hours to assist with that for us. Item 10H, I would ask the board to approve Mr. Matt Asher and Mrs. Rachel Kaufman to supervise Saturday school at Huron High School. This is on an as-needed basis. Saturday school is a behavior modification program that we utilize on some Saturdays, and those 2 folks will serve as monitors for the program when needed. Item 10H, this is a change of placement on the certified pay scale for Mrs. Tracy Harbaugh, and this is contractual, and it's due to additional coursework, moving her on the step scale. Item 10J, I would ask the board to approve the voluntary placement change for Tammy Thomas. now currently serving as the head custodian at Shawnee. And again, this was due to a retirement and then the bidding process working its way out. Again, contractual language here being followed. Item 10K, I would ask the board to approve an unpaid day for Mr. James Molesky on May 17th. This is for personal reasons. And then, not finally, but item 10L, I would ask the board to recognize and approve athletic supplementals for this school year. Again, these are all actual positions, and they're just as listed there. The majority are for spring extracurriculars. Item 10M, I would ask the board to approve or accept the resignations as listed, with the one change that we recognized before adopting the agenda. And item 11, that's it. I would ask the board to approve items 10A through M as presented, with the one change to item 10M.
We have a motion and a second.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Treasurer?
Mrs. Mask,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Slocum,
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next item we have presented for you for your approval is item 11. This is the annual approval of the Huron High School course selection guide for the, believe it or not, the 21-22 school year. It's imperative that we have this recognized and approved. We are just starting the scheduling process for the student scheduling process for the 21-22 school year. So I would ask that the board approve the course guide as presented.
Can we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question on the course guide. First of all, it's neat how you've inserted pictures in it that they haven't been there before. I thought that was really neat. But I did have some questions on, I think it was on page 6 maybe of the course guide. I don't know if this is a final copy or not, but it looks, I don't know if someone was trying to be artsy, but the copy isn't straight. I mean, when you look at it, so like there's a word and the word isn't, like some of the letters are straight and some of the letters are below it. And it's just, it's especially in the ones that have the pictures on the page, it just looks a little sloppy.
I believe Mr. Lamb is with us, Mrs. Mast, and if you would like to discuss how putting the program together. Mr. Lamb, are you with us?
I am with you, but I'm struggling it was kind of cutting in and out there.
I think the question on the table,
she was mentioning 6 is what I heard.
Yeah, Tim, on some of the pages that they have the pictures, the stock photos, in some of the highlighted boxes
From the state of Ohio?
Yeah.
Okay.
So where it says cover the basics. So I don't know if that is, cut and pasted from something from the state of Ohio, but it's the print is just not, it's not even. Like there's a word in there, and I can't see it on Randy's screen, but they're not together. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't know if you can.
Yeah, I'll
you know
talk
what
with
I mean.
Aaron about that.
Yeah, it just.
We'll look at that.
Yeah.
That's all from the state of Ohio with the graduation.
Yeah, and I just didn't know if it got, it copied and it just kind of went downhill a little bit, or the words just.
Okay.
but it just something to look at. And it's only on the state of Ohio pages where there's stock photos.
Okay. We'll take a peek at it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, see if it was their layout the way it was, or if it just in transition, some things stepped on one another. And
Yeah.
yeah, we want to have a clean document that goes out to our families, so.
Yeah, I blew it up, Ms. Matt.
Mr. Lamb, if there are going to be changes to that, if you'd let me know, so then I can provide the board with the most up-to-date
Will do.
document.
Yeah. Otherwise, I love it. I think it looks up to date and looks very inviting.
Please thank Erin for all of her work on, just preparing things. So, again, I would ask the board to approve the course guide, but also with the understanding that we're going to revisit the production quality to make sure that we are creating a document that's ready for prime time and ready for families and kids to see.
Denny, I have a question on the financial literacy.
Yes.
They are requiring a certain certification now. Is that something you would know more? I think it was just the page above, Randy, if you can go where Jody was and go up a page. Yeah, right? No, keep going. A little bit more, a little more. Okay, right there, page 5. Go down. Yeah, right there. The financial literacy requirement now.
Yes.
It said that that anyone that teaches that has to have a certain license or certification. Is that anything that you're familiar with? I just read it in the paper last week. So.
Right.
Great question. Mr. Lamb, certainly if you want to touch on that, I think I included some things related to that in my board update this week. I'm just looking quickly, but Mr. Lamb?
Yeah.
Mr. Lamb, are you aware of anything with that?
I know that Jen Bender used to do a little with that, and I'm trying to remember the other 2 teachers, I think, that provide that requirement. And I don't know what their backgrounds are as far as, what their certification would be. I didn't know if that's something we have to, talk to the staff about.
Well, what it says on the most recent update, Donna, beginning in the 23-24 school year, those that are teaching the financial literacy unit, that would require licensure validation on that subject. And the State Board of Education would need to counsel an advisory committee, including at least 5 classroom teachers, before adopting rules on the licensure validation. So it looks like that is still working its way through process of what it's going to look like.
Okay.
That's a great question, though. And
well, that's a passion of mine. I'm just glad that the state legislature is recognizing that should be, of importance before graduation, that our students all, have that background.
Absolutely. I agree. And I just think of the course that you taught at the high school, watching those kids go through that financial literacy exercise, and their eyes are as big as saucers when you tell them how much things cost, and 20 bucks an hour doesn't go very far in the real world. So
hopefully post-COVID we'll be back in the schools again.
I agree. That would be a great program.
Any further discussion on the course guide, item 11 on the agenda? I believe the question is on the adoption. I think we had a motion and a second. I've now forgotten, didn't we?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Mr. Treasurer, take the vote, please.
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Slocum,
Yes.
Mrs. Mast,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Our guidance department and our students, thank you, so they can start their scheduling process for next year. Item 12, this has been a long time coming, and I would like to, well, I'll present it to you first, and I'll have my comments, but I would like to recommend that the board recognize and approve an MOU between the Huron Board of Education and our certified unit, the Huron Education Association. This MOU references the reopening of school. Again, because it was under conditions never experienced, we had very little contract language that referenced some of the things that we were asking our folks to do. So very appreciative of the collaborative spirit of our HEA colleagues and their willingness to work together to find common ground to not only meet the needs of our students, but make sure we're meeting the needs of our faculty and staff as well. So again, this was a long time coming, but a very collaborative effort. So I would ask that you approve the recommendations for the MOU.
So moved.
I'll
Second.
second.
Mr. Treasurer, any discussion? Mr. Treasurer, please.
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mrs. Mast,
Yes.
Mr. Slocum,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item 13, the Policy Review Committee met late last month, and we had just a few policies. Majority of those policies we have policies, so these are revisions. And the revisions that were presented to you just better allow our policies to reflect Ohio Revised Code and any federal statutes, again, updating our policies. And certainly, Mr. Slocum, if there's anything you'd like to add regarding that, please feel free.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I mean, everything that we went through was necessary. And again, they were all updates, nothing new.
Thank you, Mr. Slocum. So I would just ask that the board approve the policies as recommended by the Policy Review Committee.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you, John. Discussion? Mr. Superintendent, please.
Well, I'll do it if that's okay.
Treasurer, sorry,
Mrs. Mast,
sorry.
Yes.
Mr.
Thank
Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Slocum,
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Hey, thank you. And the final item that we have, item 14, and Randy mentioned this is advertising for the school bus bids. We are utilizing the services of the Ohio Schools Council, a really powerful organization. And this allows us to at least participate in the bidding process. It does not commit us to anything other than participation. But as Randy mentioned, we do have an aged fleet. We are out of our replacement cycle. And we do have a fleet that overall, a fleet approaching with upwards of 2 million miles on our overall fleet. So again, it's something that we're going to have to do sooner than later, but this allows us to at least participate in that bidding process. So I would ask that the board accept this and this recommendation.
We have a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
Thank you. Did you get it? Okay, discussion? Randy, did you get the motion and second?
Mr. Slocum and Mrs. Green.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't quite tell myself. Question is on the adoption of item 14. Mr. Treasurer, can we take a vote, please?
Mr. Slocum,
Yes.
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Mast,
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. That is all that I have for you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Item 15, board committee reports. Does anyone have anything to submit to this board regarding a committee that they serve on or a liaison position?
I've enjoyed being the new liaison for the Huron Educational Foundation. We are going to be working on a kind of a continuing plan for it. We haven't had our meeting yet, but just to look, a few years in advance as to where the fund is going to go. But it's been very interesting. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you for your service on that committee, Mrs. Mast.
Yeah,
Hey,
I
Tom.
have, I have a couple things, just for information, regarding community relations. I did finally have the opportunity to sit down and talk with our new city manager. And found out just what a positive forward thinker he is. And, I think we're gonna be very fortunate to have him. But anyway, finally had that meeting. And then as far as school safety, I did send it out just as part of my responsibility, but I did want to mention it officially that the council did pass the resolution for the purchase of the 2 radar signs for McCormick and the high school. About $28,558 out of the city budget. So I just am thinking it's appropriate for us to thank them for that. I think that's going to be 2 welcome additions. You see the ones at Shawnee, and they're identical to those. So I do want to thank the city. So that's all I have.
Indeed. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Anyone else? I have, regarding the Athletic Hall of Fame, some discussions are emerging about how to handle the COVID situation. But first, I'll share with the board, you probably all know it's been a few months. We lost a Hall of Fame committee member, actually this community, not just a Hall of Fame committee member, but our community lost a Huron High School alumnus, longtime basketball coach, longtime teacher. You may know Bob Bowers passed, and he was a member of the Hall of Fame committee. So not only do we reflect on a loss of a great colleague, but we have to replace him on the committee. So we are working on that right now. So that's a report from the Athletic Hall of Fame committee. Anyone else?
No.
Item 16, new business.
I don't think there's any.
If there are none, the next meeting is March 16th. That's Tuesday, 3rd Tuesday, I believe, of March. I don't think there might be one exception to that, but March 16th, 6 p.m. Hopefully that will be live. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Mr. Treasurer.
Mrs. Mast,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Green,
yes.
Mr. Slocum,
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes. Meeting adjourned.
That's it.
Everyone, stay safe,
care.
stay warm.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Thanks, everybody.
Take
Yep,
care.
thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. No one be safe.